And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go. Like, I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to invest in myself. Like, I want to see what this is all about. And I just remember getting there. And at the time, there was only 900 agents at the event. I think we had about 8,000 nationwide or in North America. And I could just feel from the moment I got to this event, I went alone, mind you, that like everyone here is so excited about this thing that is developing.
Real Broker is the fastest growing publicly traded brokerage in the country. And if you're seriously considering joining Real, this video is for you. Today I'm speaking with a friend and elite agent, Chris Davis, about the pros and cons of Real Broker. And so let's not waste any time today. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video. All right, Chris, man, thank you so much for joining me today. So good to have you on. Tell us a little bit about how you actually got started in real estate.
Awesome. Yeah, Cam, super excited to be here. I love all of your videos, and I was pretty honored when you asked me. So just have to throw credit to you where a lot is due. I got started in real estate. I always start like way back. So I tell people before I graduated high school, I had lived in 7 houses in one town. And so real estate was like definitely part of my upbringing. I didn't always understand. I just loved. They were like, oh, we're moving. And I was like, sweet, I get a new bedroom. I love to pack things up. I love to redesign, make new neighbors, make new friends. I guess in hindsight, I'm really grateful we always stayed within the same town. And then, went to college. I have an acting background, played around in a bunch of different like real jobs outside of bartending. And coinciding with a time where I was engaged, now I'm married to my amazing wife and mother to my children. We had moved back to Maine from New York City, and we were trying to get an apartment. And we were like blown away at how hard it was, like interviewing with these people. And like we both had jobs. We didn't have a ton of money, but we were coming out of New York City where it's like every 8 months we moved one subway stop further from Manhattan just to get cheaper rent. And it was easy. You sent in the check, you got the keys, you got the U-Haul on Flatbush, and you made it happen. So my wife and I in New York, I think, lived in 5 different places over the span of 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So like transition, moving, understanding opportunity, right? And in my mid-20s to early, I guess my mid-20s, it was always like, how can I decrease my living expense? And it was like, just move a little further, right? And have a longer commute. I was bartending and studying in Chelsea in Manhattan. So my mom, when we moved back to Maine, I was like, Mom, it's so hard to find an apartment. This is brutal. She's like, well, why don't you buy? And I was like, Mom, I have like zero money. I had an awesome job, but like had no savings. We both had a bunch of student debt. And she's like, well, just go talk to our friend, the lender. Called him up. He came right over to the house. He like sat down. I just have it so visually remember this. And like with a little notepad, he's like, all right, what do you make? What does your wife make? Do you have a car payment? No. Do you have student debt? Yes. Hey, I wanted to let you know that if you're seriously considering joining Real and want to speak with me directly, you can actually schedule a one-on-one Zoom call. I've got a link right in the description below, and I can answer any of your questions to help you find out if Real is going to be a good fit for your business, whether you're a solo agent, a team member, team leader, or even brokerage owner. What is it? Okay, great. Credit card debt? Like maybe this. He's like, all right, how much cash do you have? And we were like, we have $7,000 in a wedding fund for our wedding in 8 months. He's like, okay, do you want to use it? And I was like, sure. And then he's like, based on this, you can buy a $200,000 house in Portland. This was 2014. And we were like, whoa. So we contacted a realtor. And I think within like the first house we saw within a week, we put an offer in on, we got different market back then. And 2.5 years later, that realtor called me and he was like, how you doing? I'm like, great. He's like, do you want to make $50,000? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I could sell your house and you could make $50,000. I didn't even have that. Like that was basically like our combined salary at that point. And we were like, whoa. So then we put the process in place. So then we looked for the least expensive house in Portland at that time, which was $180,000. And we we're like, let's go buy that. And our realtor was like trying to talk us out of it. He's like, dude, this house is a dump. And we're like, that's okay. We're going to have $50,000. We'll make it beautiful. Moved into that house. That house quickly got really small once we had our second child. And I was like, Mom, I think we got to move. Like, am I crazy? And she's like, well, no. But if you're going to move, why don't you just get licensed so you can like try to make extra money? Because I was constantly like, I can't make enough. Like, so hard to live.
Right.
And I was like, okay. So I got licensed. The next house we bought was my first transaction in Portland. We kept the second house as a rental, and that's how we qualified for the next house.
Nice.
And then at the time I had a full-time job. It wasn't, sorry, that was my light.
It's all right.
It was a great job. I wasn't loving it. And at that time I had 4 jobs in Portland over the span of 4 years.
Okay.
And I was starting to really like real estate. I mentioned I have an acting background. And so very quickly I was appreciating social media, introducing myself, like what I do to my audience who had primarily known me. All my social media up until 2018 had been about like, oh, come see me in this play. I'm fundraising for this film production. And so like, that's how everyone knew me. So I grabbed that audience and I was like, hey, now I do real estate. And here's what I can provide. And so I spent the next 6 months at that full-time job, and then I cut the cord once I had 3 deals in escrow, and I've never looked back since.
I love that, man. That's such a cool story. Similar kind of story for myself. I actually credit my wife for helping me buy my first house, because I was convinced, like, I was in my 20s, like, we're not buying, like, we're going to rent forever. Like, I don't want to be like tied to a house. She's like, we should buy a house, we should. Yeah. And like, we were both working, pretty minimum, lower end jobs at the time. And we found this little $200,000 house in South Berwick and, called it home. And like for the next 5 years, we lived there. And that's when I got my real estate license in there, sold it, and then ended up making a ton of money, seeing like, oh my gosh, like, thank you, babe. Like you, like you clearly knew something I didn't. Yeah. And it just kind of opens your eyes to the potential of real estate, what it can do for your life, what it can do for your family. Talk about, how have your first couple of years in real estate been? And then, brokerages, transitioning. I know you started off at a smaller brokerage or like a more local, and then now you're at Real. Talk a little bit about how that transition came into play.
Yeah. I had an amazing mentor. A lot of opportunity comes from like just talking to someone, right? So I was talking with a good buddy and I was like, hey, I'm getting licensed. And I was doing my due diligence. I was interviewing all around. Everyone goes to like some Keller office, right? And it's like, all right, who should I talk with at Keller Williams? And I talked with a few other companies, and then my like best friend got wind of it and he's like, oh, you got to talk to this guy. I was like, okay. So I contacted that guy. He took me out to Bruno's, which is an awesome family establishment in North Deering in Portland. And he was just like, he was at a point in his career, like I think 7 years in, where he's like, hey, I could definitely use some extra help. Like, I'd love to kind of show you the ropes. And
nice.
I was like, cool. Just took a risk. He was at a very small firm in Portland. There were like 4 people there. It was kind of aging out of existence. But it was a perfect place for me to start, I think, and one that like, it really provided me an opportunity to kind of do what I wanted under the guidance of my mentor. In that first year, I did, I think, 9 deals, made probably under 40 grand, but was just like, okay, this is cool. And then I think my second year, I did 25. And we're starting to be like, all right, I'm starting to see the work I put in, how that translates into clients and how that translates into deals, and starting to build that database. And so between year 1 and 2, my mentor and I transitioned to a larger boutique agency in Portland. I was there for about 2.5 years. It was incredible. They had incredible brand recognition. The owner of that company is still a huge mentor, and we like to co-broke a lot. But I was kind of I was getting to a point in my own business where I was really comfortable with my own lead gen, comfortable with my own marketing. And similar to my process of like job hunting before real estate, I was like, there's always something holding me back a little bit, or there's always something that's not like completely fulfilling. Mm-hmm. And what it was like, I am my own brand, right? And it's really hard to be your own brand under not a brokerage, because at Real, I feel like I am my own brand and I can be that, right? But under these smaller brokerages where maybe that person's name is the brand and that's worked really well, how far can you actually go? And you might be able to go far. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying for me personally, I felt like I'm ready to just go. Like, I want to blow this off the roof.
Nice.
And I was doing fine there. I was making great money. I had great opportunities and great deals, but it was just more of like, what else is out there? How can I
Hmm.
take Chris Davis and keep going? And I found Real because an agent out of Massachusetts had called me and was like, "Hey, I really like your social media. I've got really important clients who are looking to buy in Portland. Like, do you think you'd be willing to work with them?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I started following that guy on social media, and he kept posting about like my stock, and the stock is up. And up until that point, I was like, why does a real estate agent care about stock? Like, that's so weird to me. Like, we buy properties and we invest,
Right.
And then I started asking him questions, and then I hopped on a Zoom with him and another buddy, and he told me all about this company, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But they hadn't come to Maine yet. So there was like a hesitancy to like, well, do I want to join this thing that doesn't exist? And like
Mm.
talk to all these people. And, you know, we always say like in Maine, there's like an old Yankee mentality that change ain't good. And
Totally.
people like to just do what they've been doing forever
Yeah.
because it's worked, right? Maine has just been around, and we do the thing. Winter comes, we shovel the driveway. Spring comes, we plant the bulbs. Like we have a routine, and it's worked great.
Right.
Um, and
Even
so it
if
was a
it
big
doesn't work,
risk.
right?
Yeah,
Even if it doesn't work, sometimes we just stay because that's what we do, you know?
yeah, exactly. And then I had heard someone else was going to join who was kind of just like what I just needed to know, like, okay, this will be legit.
Hmm.
And I just went for it. And it's been an amazing transition. I've now been at Real for over 2 years, met some of the most amazing people throughout North America. And I've really just felt like, I can be me as big or as small as I want. And whatever I need for resources, I have access to instantly.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah, you kind of really, from my perspective, have helped really bring the company to Maine. You brought a number of agents, that you've have connections with and
Right.
relationships with. Your brand is super unique.
Thank you.
Love first time I started following you, and like literally the first video that popped up was this like 80s music video that you
Yeah.
did on this like rundown house, and I was just
Yeah.
like, this is it. This is so unique. Like I'm never going to forget that I saw this. And
Yeah.
I just thought that stuck with me. Like I've been thinking about that. Your
Yeah.
marketing has this way of sticking with people, and your brand does as well. So I love that you are able to essentially branch out, create your own personal brand,
Hmm.
and then take that to the next level at
Yeah.
Real. Now that you've been here for a few years, what would you say, are really the biggest pros of Real Broker versus some of the other brokerages that you have been with and others that are in our market?
Yeah. I constantly think about the culture. So I joined Real in May of 22, I think 22 or yeah, 22. In that fall, in October, we had our first like North American gathering as a company. It was called One Real. It was in San Antonio. And that excitement led to like, hey, where are you from? Hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm going to follow you. Hey, now why don't we collaborate on like how we can grow a team, or let's think about different ways we can lead gen. Um, and I think you can have a bunch of people join in to any agency or brokerage and just do their own thing. And we have those people here, and that's fine. But like, I gravitate towards the people who just like put energy out to say like, how can we help and collaborate and grow? And so I was super attracted to Real also for it's like, and I tell people this, like they had the best Instagram realtors when I joined in 2022. Like they
Yeah.
all were at Real, right? And I was like, that's how my business is built. That's how I want to keep continuing, right? So the videos I'm putting out now are all based on these people that I've been watching for 2 years in my company and watching them kind of push the limits or then change it up to like not what we're normally used to seeing for real estate content.
Right.
And just like being on this with you right now, I'm like, wow, I've never done this setup. Now I know this is really cool. Maybe I can add this into my own.
Sure.
And so I think the culture aspect, if you want to be a part of it and you want to put the time and the effort in, like it is the smallest brokerage in the world in that regard. But due to its size, we have access to so many amazing people who want to help. So that to me, that's just like, I just feel at home. I know the president, I know the CEO. When we see each other, like there's a connection, right? And part of that is when I came on. So I feel like I've been an early adopter and really been able to benefit from that. Everyone always talks about like, oh, is that the pyramid scheme company? And I'm always like, hold that thought. Do you get paid real estate commissions? Yeah. Is that the only way you make money in real estate? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm just at a company that allows me 8 other ways to make money. Is that a bad thing? And so like I've really been able to benefit through attracting folks through the stock share program, that it does make a difference, right? Like in a down market, if there are more ways to make money, I'm going to go there, right?
Yeah.
Because I need to take care of my family. And Real does a really, really amazing job about presenting you with those opportunities if you want to take advantage of them. And they make it very easy, right? It's not like you have to go attend this thing and get certified and then go out and do these presentations. No, just do what you do and welcome conversation and meet new people. And if you're on board with that, you're going to do so well at this company.
And what you've built really lends itself well to essentially the entirety of what Real offers. So I think if there are other agents watching this that have a social media presence, that have their own personal brand, that want to continue to thrive in that, I really think that's where the company is really designed for. It's one of the reasons I joined is because of the YouTube channel that we started and started researching why are all these agents at EXP. I literally hate EXP.
Hold nothing back.
I just feel like I'm just a mark. They just all they want is me to join, and it's like the culture is it was just off for me. Yeah. And I was like, well, what is? And then somebody at EXP was like, well, have you heard of Real? It's a similar model. Yeah. But the most important thing, like I don't think anybody joins a brokerage because of the numbers. Right. I think that the numbers are important, but at the end of the day, like I left a small boutique brokerage that had a really small cap to go to Keller Williams that was like, it was almost costing me twice as much because I like the people there. I like the culture there. I like the fact that, I knew this guy and I knew we could collaborate on things. That being said, Real has that times 10 because their numbers are all better. The revenue share is there, the stock, the equity opportunity, but the bedrock foundation is the culture. And it's amazing that you've been able to get in at the ground level, see it grow in Maine. I'm pumped to continue collaborating with you to help to grow the company because, like, at the end of the day, I want to attract people to something that I actually believe in, and there wasn't another company that I felt comfortable doing that with than Real. Yeah. So
that's awesome. And to that point, like, I think when I started, people in Maine just thought I started the company, which was hilarious. And I think 2, people are like, oh, how's the transition been? Has it been tough? And it's like, I haven't done anything different other than like, I have to put a little thing on my social media post that I'm with Real Broker as opposed to a previous company. Right. But like the economies of scale within Real allow the technology to be incredibly efficient, which saves us time. If we bring on assistants or VAs, training them on that becomes extremely easy because it's super intuitive. So I'm buying back more time. And then I just do what I normally do. And I think a lot of people have a fear like, oh, if I change, I'm going to lose business or everything's going to be different. It's like, well, if you're the type of agent who has built a personal brand and people are calling you because of you are going to thrive at a company like Real because you're going to find the resources and the technology you have here and the support that like, for you to keep developing that brand, you can put more energy there because all that other stuff takes less time.
100%, man. So that lends itself well into talking about some of the cons, maybe who Real isn't for. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. And this is so true in Maine. Like if you need to go to an office every day to get motivated, to have someone tell you to get on the phones or to do your social media, like this is not for you. Like we are a cloud-based brokerage. That doesn't mean we don't get together and we see each other. It just means that we're entrepreneurial in nature. We're self-starters in nature. There might be an opportunity for you to join a team. I've had 3 brand new agents join my team specifically, places in Maine over the last year. And I'm providing that level of support and inspiration and motivation. But I think as a whole, if you're just getting into the business and you're not totally sure where to go to Keller Williams for a year and get the training, or go to another and get the training. And once you feel ready and you understand the business, then come to Real, because financially you can't afford not to. So I think that's a big thing for people as they look. Like, you either have to be in line with a mentor who's going to be there with you, or you should go somewhere else and get trained and then come here once you really start to enjoy the business and understand your schedule and your finances. So I'd say those are the folks that you probably don't want to come here right away. We do have one office in Maine because legally you have to, but like, we don't have the place you go get your free coffee, do your printing and all that. And people are like, oh, you don't have a printer? It's like, well, I personally do. But like, if you look at my W-2 from previous company to Real, you know how many printers I could buy with that difference in income? So that's where I think the traditional model is like, oh, I go in, I say hi to the boss, I grab his or her coffee, I use his or her printer, but they're charging you a ton of money, right? Real provides you the opportunity and the freedom to build your own budget as a business and decide where you want to allocate your resources, you know? And the biggest thing for me is I've really amped up my marketing budget because I'm not paying as much out to the brokerage.
Which is literally the best thing you can do for your business.
Right.
Cut expenses and put it towards lead gen and marketing.
Yeah.
And if this company allows you to do that, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Another thing that, I think that is important is that, if you're just a full-time recruiter, if all you want to do is just come over to Real and just recruit agents, it's not the company for you. To talk a little bit about that, Chris.
Yeah. There's definitely a side of our model that people see as like, oh, I'm just going to get a bunch of people to join. Sharon did a great 1-minute video for us yesterday about the difference between attraction and recruiting. And it really comes down to, who does it serve in the end, right? And attraction serves everyone. Recruiting just serves the person doing the recruiting, right? And what has grown Real's culture is I'm not talking to you, Cam, because I see a dollar sign over your head. I'm talking to you, Cam, because I see a life for me where I could hop on Zoom with you and create content so we can grow what we believe in Maine and learn from other realtors and build our business doing the job we love, right? And so that's where you need to be a producing agent who loves what they do and where they're at and believes in it. Attraction is then going to become second nature. If you're seeing this company has an opportunity, like, oh, I'm just going to recruit, go to Better Homes and Gardens and be a salaried position and just spend your whole day dialing realtors and saying, hey, I've got an opportunity, right? Like, we do well in this business because we love to serve the client. We love to build our brand. Agents then see the success we have and the passion we have, and they say, hey, how do you do that? Well, a big part of it is because I'm at this brokerage that allows me to do it.
Yes, 100%, man. I was talking with my team as well yesterday about how success naturally attracts. We're thinking about, okay, well, how can we tell agents? Because down here in the southern part of Maine, Seacoast, New Hampshire, Real is relatively unknown. I'm sure it's still that way up where you guys are at, although you have a bit more of a basis. Like, how do we even tell people that we exist? And we were talking, well, let's just go out and get a bunch of listings. Let's go out and help a bunch of buyers, do our job like as real estate agents that we're supposed to do. And then the natural consequence of that is that people see us, they see us in the market, they see our marketing, they see our videos, they think, wow, those are unique. And then like my goal, my heart is, hey, let's collaborate, man. Let's do a video together about your listing. Like, but hey, sorry, we can't actually do that if you're at a different brokerage, but you know what I mean? Like if we were at the same brokerage, why not? Let's collaborate. Let's make something together that literally dominates the marketplace. And so, I love the collaboration that exists at this company. And the thing that's interesting to me is that when you have an office, it's like forced collaboration. Right? It's like, okay, I have to hang out with this person because they're there. When you don't have an office, if you choose to get together with someone, it's because you actually want to see them. Right?
100%. Yeah. Like,
and so
when the boss is buying pizza, you have to come in today. It's like, oh, I do. Or, Chris and Cam, can you get together and talk? Like, dude, that sounds really cool.
When we get together as agents at Real, it's actually because we want to see each other and we want to learn and we want to grow. And I'm excited about doing some more of these masterminds, not just on Zoom, but maybe locally, and with our community. It's going to be awesome. Chris, I think, this has been amazing, dude. Thank you so much for joining me. And it's so great having you on. Definitely have you on again.
I can't wait, Kim. And thank you so much for everything you put out into the world and everything you share with your community. And I feel very lucky to be a recipient of it. So here's to the next one.
Awesome, man.